Welcome back to CBS Mornings and the latest on the midterm elections that so far have done very little to shift the balance of power in Washington. Now, we should emphasize there are still a lot of races to be decided. With that said, let's bring in our top White House correspondents, Keefe and Nancy Cordes, two political pros that belong in the White House Hall of Fame, to break this all down. Nancy, it's a better night than expected for the Democrats. What are you hearing from the White House?
Oh, big change of mood from the White House in the past 24 hours. Yesterday, they were trying to pre-explain why it wouldn't be a big deal if they lost a bunch of seats. Now they're saying, wait, maybe we didn't lose a bunch of seats. Maybe we just lost a handful of seats. They're saying that they feel excitement mixed with some validation because they managed, they think, to buck a historic trend. They didn't lose dozens of seats the way previous presidents have.
And we were calling out the fact that the president didn't go everywhere, or the places he went seemed a little off, given where we thought the battlegrounds were.
But people didn't
all
want
the
him to
different
come,
places,
Ed, though. People didn't want him to come.
and the ones who didn't are the ones struggling. But where he did go, they held on.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
And you know, it's a signal that, and John Fetterman especially, there was somebody who completely embraced the Biden legacy. The Biden White House said, "Come on down and help me out." He came. Former President Obama came, and he eked it out. Bunch of races he went to in New Mexico, in California, and Illinois, and other places like that. And we all went, "Why are you going there?"
Yeah.
Kathy Hochul here in New York. Twice he came up to help her, and she pulled it off. So the lesson is, don't bet against Joe Biden.
Don't bet against Biden.
Politically, the guy always finds a way, it seems, and that's what the White House is preparing privately. Maybe he'll say it publicly at some point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Of course, we're expecting to hear from him at some point today, but let the jokes begin about the red wave. I've heard it called, the red sprinkler. I've heard it called the red splash, the red puddle. Needless to say, there was not this red wave, not this red tsunami.
No.
So did you see anything earlier in the evening that might have indicated that this is how it would turn out?
Yeah.
You did?
They were iron races in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Indiana, Virginia. They said, look, we're going to win those early. It's going to be the start of it. None of them materialized. They got one race in Virginia where Donald Trump had won pretty easily back in 2020. Otherwise, the Democrats prevailed in all those other races. And they were parts of the country where they were anticipating being able to take districts that had been Democratic for decades or for like 100 years, down in Texas, for example, and it just didn't materialize. Democrats saying, look, midterm voting patterns in these parts of the country at least stayed the same. Abortion clearly was a factor, that you saw them playing that up, and there will probably be some indication that the president's focus in the closing days on issues like democracy, reminding people what had happened on January 6th, may have also helped close the gap with independence.
So, Nancy, former President Trump, as you know, wanted to play kingmaker in these midterm elections. I saw a lot of prominent Republicans tweeting yesterday that this is primarily on Trump's shoulders. The candidates that he endorsed did not do as well as expected. So what does that mean for him looming large over the Republican Party?
Some notable high-profile stumbles by candidates that were not favored by the Republican establishment, but were anointed by former President Trump. I'm talking about Dr. Mehmet Oz in Pennsylvania, Blake Masters, who's trailing right now in Arizona, Herschel Walker failing to clear 50% in Georgia. That state now goes to a runoff. Republicans argue this is another reason to turn the page from former President Trump, but the reality is he still has so much power with the base, and frankly, he's going to call it a victory no matter what.
And one notable thing with those Republican gubernatorial candidates, especially, who never committed to certifying 2020 election results, or they wouldn't say that they would have.
Right.
All of them lost. The only one we're waiting on is Kerry Lake, who, of course, was one of the most vociferous deniers of the 2020 election results. Again, a signal.
That's saying a lot.
It's voters are saying, hold on a second, like you're not in line with actual factual results.
And that should not be a tough state for a Republican to win.
After last night, you think he's going to run next week?
The guy says he's running. All right.
No, he said he has a big announcement. He didn't say he's running.
Oh, you're talking about Donald Trump, or we're talking about Joe Biden?
I'm talking about Trump.
Well, Trump says he's got a big announcement next week, and
big announcement.
We'll see when the big announcement comes. Because we've been hearing for the last several months that he was several weeks away from saying something.
Yeah.
So let's see if he makes good next week.
All right.
Nancy, Ed, thank you so much.
That White House Hall of Fame would be by the vending machine.
No, it's by the microwave.
Yeah, it is.